A treat for a Christchurch primary school today. Students at Parkview got a chance to catch a story or two at their assembly hall, with the Waiheke Island-based narrator sharing a number of her treasured novels with the junior school. And she says it's something she loves.
My work takes me all over the world, so I'd spend at least half the year telling overseas and the rest of the time here in New Zealand.
Tanya Batt has been sharing stories for 25 years and says it's something that's been close to her heart, taking an interest at a young age.
My family, my father and my stepfather are great storytellers and story readers, and I'm the eldest of 8 children, so I got to practice quite a lot on my younger brothers and sisters.
Now she shares her creative stand-up stories with children the world over. Earlier this year, she was in Malaysia showcasing her performance, saying storytelling has no limits.
I was working with a series of international schools in KL, but then I went over to Borneo, to a place called Kuching, to be part of an inaugural children's literature festival in that area. I was working alongside Malay storytellers and Singaporean and Chinese, so an Indian, great cultural mix.
So the universe started to make, have you got your hands ready to help me create? Started to make water. Who's going to go?
She says this form of art has been going on for centuries and is more significant now than ever.
I think what stories do for communities is we humanise each other through our telling of stories. We make connections and we make sense of the world that we live in through the stories that we tell as well.
Shortly after the Canterbury earthquakes, Batt was invited down to Christchurch to help assist the local children who have been through the tragic disaster. Now she's returned 5 years later and says the stories the pupils share have changed.
All their stories were very fatalistic. They're about earthquakes, tsunamis, they didn't have resolution, and I came down a couple of years later and the stories they told me had changed quite a lot, which for me indicated that the children were moving on. I spent a lot of time just listening and recording people's stories at that time, and I'm sure people will appreciate here that it's a really necessary part of healing to tell stories, to make those connections and to make sense of what's happened to you through your narrative.
She says it's an art that many people share every day and believes it's important for those at a young age to develop communication skills as best they can.
The foundation of all language is spoken language. That's what we learn to do first with each other, is to communicate orally. And the pleasure of it, really, and that there's a real simplicity in storytelling in this very complicated world that we live in, this screen-orientated world, and that we can still share something as simple and as meaningful as a story.
It's her last day here in Christchurch, but she isn't stopping yet. She jets off across the ditch next week to do it all over again. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.